What if I told you that some Olympic athletes win long before they ever step onto the field? Not because they are more talented, not because they are luckier, but because they have already experienced victory hundreds of times before it happens. In their minds, before a diver jumps, before a sprinter leaves the starting blocks, before a gymnast performs in front of millions of people, they mentally rehearse success over and over again. And here is the shocking part. Brains can show that vividly imagining an action can activate many of the same neural networks involved in actually performing it. Your brain begins preparing for an experience before it even arrives. Now, here is the question. If athletes use this to train for gold medals, what happens when you use it to train for your dream life? Most people think they are not visualizing, but that's not true. You are visualizing all day long. The problem is you are usually visualizing things you don't want. You replay old arguments, past mistakes, embarrassing moments, worst case scenarios, future worries, and every single time you replay those scenes, your brain strengthens them. Your mind doesn't ask whether something is helpful. It simply asks, should I become more familiar with this? Then it builds a stronger pathways around it, which means many people spend years unknowingly rehearsing stress, fear, rejections, limitations. They are training for outcomes they never wanted in the first place. But what if you started practicing a different reality? Let's test something. Don't imagine a bright yellow lemon. Don't picture holding it. Don't imagine slicing it open. And definitely don't imagine taking a giant bite and tasting that sour juice. What happened? You probably saw it instantly. Maybe not perfectly, maybe only briefly, but your brain created something which proves something is important. You can visualize. The issue isn't whether you have the ability. The issue is whether you are using it intentionally. If you can imagine lemon, you can imagine your future self. Every thought creates activity in the brain. Every repeated image strengthens neural pathways. Think of it like walking through a field. Walk the same route once and nothing changes. Walk the same route 100 times and a pathway begins to appear. Your brain works the same way. The more often you mentally rehearse an experience, the more familiar it becomes, and familiarity creates confidence. When opportunities appear in your life, they don't feel foreign anymore. They feel expected, recognizable, normal, and that's important because many opportunities go unnoticed simply because people aren't mentally prepared to see them. Most people make one mistake when visualizing. They create still images. They imagine standing next to the dream car, looking at the dream house, seeing the money in the account. That's a good start. But there is a more powerful method. Create a movement. Imagine driving the car. Feel your hand on the wheels. Watch the scenery moving past the windows. Hear the engine. Feel the sunlight on your skin. Smell the fresh air. Instead of creating a photograph, create a memory. The more detailed and dynamic the scene becomes, the more real it feels to your nervous system. You're no longer imagining a possibility. You are rehearsing an experience. Here is something interesting. Many of the objects around you constantly remind you of who you have been. Old clothes, old habits, old routines, old memories. They are subtle reminders of a previous version of yourself. But what if your environment started reminding you of who you are becoming? What if your clothes reflected your future identity? What if your room reflected your future lifestyle? What if the things around you triggered future memories instead of past memories? Suddenly, visualization wouldn't only happen during meditation, it would happen throughout your entire day. Every object could become a reminder, every detail could reinforce your future identity. Most people think vision boards are just motivational posters, but that's not their real purpose. Their real purpose is neurological. A vision board gives your brain a visual reference point, a trigger, a reminder, something that instantly reconnects you with your future reality. The image itself isn't magical. What matters is what happens when you look at it. The moment you begin imagining yourself inside that scene, the rehearsal begins. Again and again, day after day. Visualization isn't about pretending, it's about preparation. Your future reality should feel familiar before it arrives, because when success finally appears, when opportunities show up, when relationship arrives, when the money comes, when the dream becomes a reality, you won't feel overwhelmed. You won't feel like an imposter. You won't push it away. You'll feel ready because you've already been there hundred of times in your mind. So today, spend a few minutes visualizing, not as wishful thinking, not as fantasy, but as training. Because your brain is already rehearsing something every day. The only question is, are you rehearsing the life you want or the life you have been trying to leave behind?